who's making and how much money over what time period are they making off of this lead that I'm driving? I think that's the question you want to ask yourself. Make everybody on your team an owner, even if it's a 0.25% that vests over 4 years. Why? Because they treat it like an owner, same way you do. Adding value to others, asking what problems they have. I know you need to have purpose in your life, otherwise you're lost.
Hey guys, just want to say a quick thank you to our sponsors, not just Adam, but Ringba, of course. If you haven't already, grab your copy of The Paper Call Revolution, which you can find on Amazon now.
All right, everyone, I have a very special guest, not Anthony Sarandrea, or not Anthony Sarandrea, but Anthony Sarandrea, right?
There he is. Nailed it.
All right, cool, guys. So really excited for this interview. I've known him and who he is for the last few years. I've seen him popping up on podcasts, Alex Michel, Brett Malinkowski, a bunch of other big names in the online space. And he's famous for not just being a killer affiliate, a killer in business, but also having a big exit and doing something that no one else has really done in the space. So I'm very privileged and super excited to have some of his time and share some golden nuggets with everyone else. Thanks for joining me, man.
I'm to be here, dude. Of course, dude. Thanks for having me. It's be fun.
So how'd you get started in the affiliate space?
I get started in the affiliate space. I was running a internet marketing agency, traditional for hire, and actually had a friend of mine. Tell me about it. You know, what we did was we actually I give you John. Let me start over. Sorry, I was reading something. Okay, okay. How I got started in the affiliate space. I ran an internet marketing agency, and I wrote up a sales script one day that basically said, "Hey, well, you know, traditional internet marketing agencies, a percent of ad spend or fixed fee or whatever it was." So I said, "Okay, let's do a fixed fee plus a profit percentage," and we'll go out and sell it we would be really aligned with the customer, and that when they make money, we make money. And I was telling my team about it, and they're like, "Great, how are you going to track it?" And I'm like, "I'm not going to be able to. It's a really great sales pitch. It's just going to close the deal for the fixed fee." So we're like, "Okay, perfect." So we went out and it did. It closed a handful of good deals. And one of the customers, a couple months after they started, all of a sudden I go in my mailbox and I have like a I forget the number, $22,000 check or something like that. So I call up the customer and I go, "Hey, your controller fucked up. They made a mistake that, you know, you cut me a check that you shouldn't have." He's like, "No, dude, that's your commission." And I was like, "Oh, I'm hooked on this." So instead of you know, the agency model of charging for time or percent of spend or something, I was like, I like this. So that was my first taste of the affiliate space. Was right there. Was essentially, you know, being a commission salesperson online, which is really all an affiliate is. And then yeah, we rolled in from there. But that was the first taste I understood productizing the service, which is all affiliate is. It's productizing internet marketing services.
What year was that?
2016. 16, yes.
So that's when you pivot into just pure affiliate, operating in the capacity of an affiliate.
You know, I'm actually really proud of the process I took, which was I had my internet marketing agency that was great and going well and scaling, but again, it was scaling through people. And I get a call on a Saturday night saying, "What the hell? I'm not number one on Google yet," but by the client. So it was a pain in the neck. There was a lot of it was a client management game, right? And then on the inverse, you do really good for a client and then fire you still. And you're like, "Why'd you do that?" You're like, "Well, my cousin thinks he can do it better." I'm like, "What the hell?" So if you do good, you could get fired. If you do bad, you get fired. You know, so it was a bit of a rat race. And I feel it for about 2 years, which is a pretty ridiculous amount of time in hindsight for how profitable the affiliate business came. Really, call it 6 to 9 months into launching. I still kept the internet marketing agency on, so I did a really good. I love the idea of like, don't quit your day job. So my goal was that when the side hustle, which became the affiliate business I eventually sold, outpaced my main business, which at the time was the internet marketing agency. Once the profit was bigger than that, I would shut this down. And of course, I even was more conservative with that, and I started dwindling it down versus just shutting it down and losing it. But I feel like that was a really good process because I could see a lot of people second they start doing well, being like, the thing that's working really well, I'm going to throw this out and be done with that and go chase the shiny object syndrome. And I'm really, really proud. Even if I did ultimately move a little bit slower on this business, I'm really proud of how methodical I thought that movement was with my time, energy, and efforts.
I've heard you also give advice in other interviews to learn on other people's dime, meaning work for them. And I love that, man, because I think that I think when I first became a business owner, I started a gym actually. That's how I got into lead gen, like
Wow,
it's 14 years ago. And
nice.
I remember I wanted everyone else to be an entrepreneur because all my friends were in their late 20s. They hated what they did. They were
Yeah,
complaining. They were miserable. I was like, oh, you should be an entrepreneur. And now looking back, I'm like, man, I'm so happy they didn't listen to me
yeah,
because I know most people shouldn't do this, right? And let alone people trying to do it, like abandoning it. I can work. Like I'm sure you know plenty of people that have made it work, but you also probably know plenty of people that struggled and maybe gave up because it didn't, right? Or soon enough for them, right?
yeah, for sure. Completely agree. I think it's just it depends on the stage you're in life too, right? Like I was a freaking young 20-year-old kid. Like you can kind of fall on your ass when you have and that's another thing. I had unbelievably low expenses for my income. Always to date even. And it was you can just operate from such an abundant mindset where I'm not making 5 grand spending 4,999, right? I I had a roommate for up until 3, 4 years ago. Like, and this is when I was making substantial dollars. And it was just like one, it was fun, is my best friend forever, but two, like, dude, $1,000 rent, $2,000 rent, like, and just living below your means, and it allows you to, it allowed me at least to have a lot less artificial stress around building a business up. And now not everyone's in that stage of life or has that luxury, or maybe you already have expenses outpace that. But yeah, I really do. I love what, thanks for pointing that out. I love it, learning on other people's dime. I think anyone who's always like, I want to get in the affiliate space. I'm like, don't do that. Go run an agency, go get a client, go get paid to have someone else's credit card and spend on their credit card and really learn on their dime. I think that's the most taboo, biggest hack in anyone who wants to be an affiliate marketer. I would not
Yeah.
jump into marketing out of the gate personally.
Do you think
At
it's
least I,
harder today to start?
it's interesting. I've been thinking about this a lot because I'm technically restarting, right? Like I had a non-compete that ended April 1st in a portion of the business that I ran before. And so I'm restarting after kind of being semi on the sidelines for 2 years. And I think in a lot of ways it is, in a lot of ways it's not. I'll point out the ways it is. I think there's a lot of people running very uncompliant, very fraudulent traffic. And there's really no policing of it, which I know sounds funny to want to kind of sell out my tribe of affiliates, but and I'm not necessarily doing that, but it creates an environment where you have to make a decision, or you have to get very creative to monetize in order to or have the right partner, excuse me, to monetize your traffic when someone's running an angle that says you can get a free check in the mail with cash and you get a massage every night if you call this number for 30 seconds. And that's just not true. That's not how the product works. None of that's true at all. So in that regards, I think it's tougher. Why I think it's easier in some other regards is finding and aligning with the right partners. They realize that, well, that kind of messaging doesn't turn into a high lifetime value. That kind of messaging also turns off the sales reps. That kind of messaging also makes for a non-sustainable long-term business. So while everyone else is picking up pennies, running fraudulent BS traffic, you can actually focus on the metrics that matter. What's the lifetime value? What's the actual order size the person's coming in at? Does this company want to be around for another 5, 10, 20 years, or are they going to be caught up in a lawsuit in 3 months from now? And finding those right partners, and then really looking inward and saying, okay, how do we innovate better than anyone else? And if that's monetizing, I know that's one thing we'll talk about here, monetizing the traffic multiple ways or differently or better than everyone else. If that's attacking it from a different angle than everybody else. If that's again, creating deeper relationships with the people buying your leads or your calls, which obviously it sounds like you've heard some of my interviews. I'm the biggest proponent of that. I haven't launched an ad. I haven't ran traffic myself in 8, 9 years at this point, and I still think I'm one of the best media buyers out there. And it's not because, or one of the best affiliates out there. And again, I'm not being. I'm saying that to kind of poke fun. It's because I know what you really need to focus on, which is the relationship. You need to focus on the back end partner and growing that relationship. It's not how to get your CPMs down 10% or your, or how do you drive your call costs down $2. That's obviously very important. And you need a great team or like myself, great partner to be able to do that. But I also know that the majority of the value is on everything else we're talking about here, which if you notice, none of it was talking about which angle works the best within a certain category.
So you build your initial big success off of this principle and idea of the relationships. You used to go to the call centers, you would have those direct relationships. So how can someone today that feels stuck, and selfishly, I'm asking you this because for myself as well, and the audience too, when you have the right intention, you want to build those relationships, but then you get a lot of walls. Maybe it's because they're brokers, maybe it's because they're networks, they're not thinking outside the box like this, thinking more value driven, more low CPA driven. How do you, where do you start with this to create those real opportunities?
It's a great question. I start with, and I've been preaching this for a while, software vendors. Software vendors know all of the actual end buyers themselves. So creating relationships with the actual vendors themselves, everyone ignores. They think they're being sold to. Every single software vendor, I'm pretty damn close to best friends with the owner of all the companies, because I know they get to see all the traffic and all the affiliates. I'm sorry, and all the offers and all the advertisers. Like, holy shit, that's pretty powerful. That's not why I'm friends with them. I'm friends with them because I like them. But start there. That's a very easy. And I think any software vendor will take your call because they want to sell you. But you start a relationship there. Your networks, like you mentioned, I'm not the biggest fan of networks, but I learned early on. And I think some of these people have gone on to do really good affiliate business in themselves. I'm not saying it's because I train them or my team or my partner, train them to do this, but I worked through them. So the questions that the relationship you'd want with them, the network, or sorry, with the end buyer, I start with the network. I'm FaceTiming them. I'm becoming friends with them. Say, hey, what other things are working well for other affiliates? Hey, can we audit some of these calls together? Or I audited the calls. Can you give this feedback? And really, they became nothing than a telephone liaison. Like, hey, can you give this feedback to the call center? Hey, what about this? Hey, can you ask them this? And really, I mean, you might as well have been BCC'd on the emails and messages going back and forth because the person's just playing telephone. So you can reach the end buyer even through a network. And then eventually again you graduate to the end buyer. But those are two really easy ones. You just work through the network. You make them essentially be a puppeteer. And I don't mean that in a negative way. I mean that in like what you want for the end buyer, pretend like they are, and just have them pass that on, and then you'll get it back and back. And I'm not saying they're going to make as good a case as you would, but at least you can arm them to do so. And that's what I did originally. I started through networks, and that's how I grew. And I essentially was talking to the end client through them. And then your ultimate goal is to go to the actual industry conferences to meet with actual end buyers and really understand the industry. So the industries that I'm in, or that I market in, or that I want to be in, I know it starts with really understanding the product. That's why I can make that joke about the ACA stuff, not to you, just to the space in general. Is it's people don't understand the product. They don't understand how it works. They don't understand what they're selling. And unfortunately, they've been rewarded for it by bad actors that are, now in a lawsuit. So it's not a long-term strategy by any means. Nothing against it. Go ahead and make money in between. In fact, I condone and love that and all about that. But if you understood the product, you might actually be making more money than everybody running the fraudulent traffic today, because you could run messaging that would have you would know that you need to talk about higher stick rates versus the churn and cancellation rates. I mean, I know some of these ACA floors had a 80% churn in open enrollment. So that 80% of the people they signed up for after open enrollment canceled. That they're not buying from anyone. Now, if you had the right conversation around, stick rates and lifetime value and these other things to help these, now you're focused on being a business partner, or having a partnership with these actual networks or call centers or insurance companies or whatever it is. You're not a marketer off the street that's just pumping in traffic. And it's a short-winded exercise. And again, there's no judgment on the short-windedness other than knowing, hey, this is a quick money grab. All good. Hell yeah, power to anyone who wants to go do a quick money grab. If you want to build a long-term sustainable sellable business, or something that is long-term money that continues to go up and up and up, you might look at a different space, or you might attack it from a different angle or a different way. But I think to answer your question, understanding the industry you're in and the products that you're marketing and how they intimately work and everything in regards to that is a really good use of time to be able to have literate conversations and actually inform your marketing, if nothing else, on how to market better on that actual product. So essentially start those relationships starting with the networks, focus on software vendor relationships as well too, because they can ultimately get you to the end buyer. And then understanding and going to trade shows and conferences that are industry specific, not marketing specific. You know you did good when you're in a room and there's 0 other marketers in there. I can't tell you how many times when we had my Medicare business, I was in a room and I was the only marketer in there. And guess why? It's because I wasn't trying to sell these people on my leads. I was actually trying to learn how Medicare worked and things going on in the industry and how Medicare Advantage works and how the system works and all these things. And I just happened to be the only marketer in there. So if you wake up yourself in a conference or a mastermind related to your space and you're the only marketer in there, I think that's when you say, okay, I'm doing what I'm supposed to be doing right now.
Would you say the payouts, let's go back to ACA, for example. This is my first true experience focused on pay per call, not doing lead gen. And I found there was a lot of times the payouts, the standard payouts you would hear or see from networks, from brokers, those were consistent with what would match a cost per call, for example, from an aggressive angle.
Yeah.
So like you'll see 45 on a 90-second call. You're going to have to produce a phone call, probably $10 or less, I'd imagine, for that to work, assuming the call center is decent. So in reality, if you're thinking more value driven with how do I actually help this floor build LTV off the back of this customer, in that case, what should a call like that actually pay you out if you're able to build that deep relationship or your partner, not just a traffic provider?
You're talking specifically to ACA?
Yeah, just as an example.
Yeah. So you do a couple things. You would find out, and here's the easy way to do it. You go on clarity.fm or you go somewhere, someone who sells insurance policies. First off, you'd learn that there's not just ACA. People don't even know what that is. Affordable Care Act. That's for a low income individual, not someone who's, really, really broke or unemployed. That's Medicaid. Then you realize there's something called short-term medical insurance on top of that too. That's more of a higher income that has a much larger LTV. So understanding the different products is one within there. So I would be doing my research on. So how I got to that. Let me not give you the fish, teach it. How I got to that is I talked to insurance agents and I said, what are the different health insurance products you can sell? Boom, boom, boom. How do you sell them? Well, how do you get paid? Well, how long do they stick for? What's your commission? What's your percentage? And I started learning all these questions. And then I started asking for you. I'd ask the network guy, hey, how much, like when they enroll this policy, how much does it cost the consumer? I don't know. Could you ask the end buyer? Sure. Well, why do you want to know? I just want to know. Great. Well, how long do they expect that policy to stick around for? I don't know. Well, could you ask the end buyer? Yeah, of course. So now you start getting these answers and you start realizing, okay, so it's worth how much? Hey, where does the policy actually end up? Is it, do they service it or no, it gets sold to United Healthcare or Humana. Or the person says, I don't know. And you go, well, can you ask them? Yeah, United Healthcare Humana. Well, how much does United Healthcare Humana pay this call center? I don't know. Well, can you ask them? And these are all the questions that really through the network can actually be your liaison. Again, for everyone listening and yourself, obviously the end buyer's goal. But for now, if you don't have that, you can get a lot of that info by doing your own research, things like that. So you're asking the right questions. The right question is, for me, I always start back with who's making and how much money over what time period are they making off of this lead that I'm driving? I think that's the question you want to ask yourself. And then everything reverses back into it. Let's just use a round number. This is not the right number. Let's just say it's a United Healthcare makes $1,000 off an ACA person. This isn't right. Again, too, I'm just making up round numbers.
Yeah.
$1,000. Cool. They paid the call center 80% commission. Okay. $800. Got it. How long did it take them to collect that? I'm using round numbers again to 10 months. Okay. So they make $80 per month. Got it. Now, what's their close rate on that? So now they make $800. Okay. Their close rate is what? It basically backs down to a cost per lead, tolerable acquisition. So, if 1 out of 3 people closes, that
the real CPA, not right, the CPA you get that the network tells you.
Exactly. And you've got call center costs in there, the network's making margin too. And so, but overall, exactly what this person's worth over what time period. So you can start pulling on what are the right levers to pull on. yes, you need an enrollment, but you also want to look at how long people are sticking in the program. And when you're promising free cash and an aggressive angle, they're not sticking in the program. And again, too, it's a real freaking challenge. What's your argument? And so that's part of it. Is harder. There are more, you know, there used to be the cool thing to be a drop shipper. Now it's cool to be a lead generator. And you've got people that have no idea. I had I had a buddy that has never done marketing before, and he's like, "Hey, I'm going to do ACA marketing." Holy shit, that's scary. When they say when your barber is telling you a tip on a stock tip, it's too late. And that's how I felt there, right? And it was so you've got people running really fraudulent traffic. So to answer your question, how do you know the true CPA? You understand the product mechanics and the economics associated with that. How do you get that? You do your research. You talk to, in your case here, you're going to talk to insurance agents. You're going to secret shop and call in, and you're going to learn how long does that, or how much does it cost me as the consumer? You're going to go on LinkedIn and for people within the companies that are buying your leads ultimately, and you're going to message them for some consulting and say, "Hey, can I pay you a couple $100? Can I pay you $100 for 30 minutes of your time?" And you're going to ask an industry expert these questions, and you're just going to blow up 100 people on LinkedIn. You're going to get 3 responses and one person to get on a call with you, and you're going to ask them, "How does this work?" And you're not going to ask them a freaking marketer question. You're not going to ask one thing from a marketer. All you want to know is how the customer's journey. How do they get here? What do they do? And that's your core competitive advantage, because you can build angles differently. You can be more intelligent on who the end buyer should be and what they can afford. And you can be more intelligent with, in your case, the liaison of the network to the actual end buyer on what you're asking them to get the data. And you're asking them the right literate questions for the end buyer to push down to them. So that's how you learn, in my opinion, what you should actually be able to be affordably be able to grab. Because whether you're absolutely right, it's very tough when someone starts you out, but they're saying the wrong thing. They're saying a lead cost. Who gives a shit about the lead cost? Really, what they're saying is it's the cost per acquisition. They're not even saying that. They want to know
on average based on this payout with affiliates, right?
yes,
Like
they
that's
want it's all a mechanism of the lifetime value, and it's a percent of the lifetime value. So if I am United Healthcare, there's no formula like this, but I know I make $1,000 revenue that the US government pays me in order to service this ACA client. I get $1,000 revenue. I'm going to say that 70% of that should go towards marketing. Great. And now the 70% now goes into the call center, takes a cut, the network takes a cut, you've got yours, and now they're figuring that your cancellation rates are going to be the same as everyone else. So they've set $45 on a 90-second, when in reality, if you had 10% better cancellation rates than everyone else, guess what? You should be getting paid $49.50 on a 90-second. If you had 20%, you should be getting paid more if your lifetime value goes a little bit longer. So it's all a math equation as far as what you should actually be getting paid. So it's kind of bullshit to just get thrown a set cost per call that you should be able to get paid at. But yeah, how do you get out of that? It's I think you need to have those conversations with the end buyer eventually if you're able to go through the network. The challenge is what I have with networks is, like, even if you had like a big boy business combo like that, like they're probably
kind
they're
of
probably too
flexible.
lazy. They're probably too lazy. Yeah, unfortunately. Hopefully there's a good one, and that's not all of them. I've had some network partners that will go back and they will intelligently make that ask to buyers and be able to say, "Hey, I want to run better compliant traffic that I believe is going to have a higher stick rate. Can you pay me 60 on a 90?" And the goal is to get a yes. And there's someone out there that'll say yes to that, because there's someone out there that's frustrated with the fact that they're running uncompliant stuff and they're worried about getting shut down. There's someone out there who's worried about their entire book of business churning right after open enrollment, that says, "You know what, I think this guy's the right partner to do this with." And then how you compete is it costs you more to drive a caller than anybody else, but you get paid more. And that's ultimately where I've made the most money is where I'm able to drive the highest quality, most expensive caller profitably. Not how do I go the other way. The other way is how do I drive the
The race
cheapest
to the
caller.
bottom the other way,
Yeah,
right?
to race to the bottom. And everyone else is playing that game. Everyone else is playing that game. Right now, I relaunched traffic for the first time in 2 years with the new business, and we're losing money. But I'm losing money because I'm driving really fucking good quality. I'm driving really good quality, and I know the economics on the other side will pay for itself. When I have a buyer, and I had a buyer on Friday tell me, I want to buy 1,000 of these calls a day from you. Okay, I know that you're making a shit ton of money off me. That's what I needed to hear. So now I can go raise my prices a little bit more, a little bit more. And again, I'm not burning tens of thousands of dollars. I'm burning a couple $100 a day right now. Sounds funny, it sounds small, but I am. And I'm getting one buyer hooked on some good stuff to get my metrics. That one buyer will turn into two, will turn into three, will turn into five, and we'll scale from there.
Was there a problem that was created in your last business that forced you to create this solution and way of thinking?
I would say pay per call in general. Like I started in the debt space where it's a subprime individual, low contact rates, and the solution was an inbound consumer initiated inbound call, which at the time wasn't nearly as big as it is today. Now it's a whole industry. It was really like a very tiny, teeny tiny little niche industry back 7, 8 years ago. So that's one solution that we solved. I'd say another thing is we built some internal technology that really ingests quality metrics and matches that back to campaigns, which allows us to optimize around the true thing, which is the
CPA?
advertisers metrics, not my front end metrics. My front end metrics will take care of themselves, I believe. But other than that, dude, there's no magical secret sauce for me. I think again, it's just like all comes back to relationships. I think I do a better job of building and nurturing relationships than anyone else. And it's for someone who's a solopreneur, because I remember being there, it's a delicate balance of keeping the lights on and optimizing your campaigns and investing in your network. And to start, it might be a 90-10, it might be 90%, in the basement, going along launching campaigns and optimizing, and 5%, fuck it, 5% networking. And it can start with other business owners. And then it can start with people in the affiliate space. And then it can start but my ability to network has opened doors for me and allowed me to make intelligent decisions and allowed me to get someone else's experience share who's been or done something I've done. It's just, I mean, if you want to be somewhere, it's such a, life's so simple. It's, you find someone who's done what you want to do and you model what they did. I mean, that's really it at the end of the day. And how you get there is through building, expanding, and nurturing your network. And so yeah, so whatever that is, that's 5% of your time, 10% of your time, 2% of your time to start. Like I think it's got to be on the radar, even if you're a solopreneur working 70 hours a week. I think it has to be on the radar. Otherwise, you'll always be working 70 hours a week. I remember crying on the floor because I was working 70 hours a week and stressed out of my mind. And that's the only way out. Only way out. So either stay in that space, you give up, or you rise above it. And I think how you rise above it is you got to make time for investing in the long term, which again is a relationship, in my opinion.
You probably just answered my next question. I think you have in the last 10 minutes. What separates the 10% of affiliates that are
Yeah.
taking home most of the cake and winning versus the other 90%? As I think you've answered it, but is there anything else you would add to that?
No, not at all. It's again a relationship with the advertiser, relationship to be able to hire or attract talent. Even if you can't afford it, can you give a percentage of profit share? Can you give a percentage of the business? If you can afford it, great again too. And then listen, I'll tell you what, I'm part of the 10%. And let's just say there's 10 people, 8 out of the 10, maybe it's 6 out of the 10 share openly everything, their buyers, their angles, their costs on Facebook, what their buyers are paying them, how they're looking at things, what they're thinking about things. And it's this moat that is incredible. Like I can think of 3 people off the top of my head right now that I share my fucking P&L with, and they share it back. And you can't compete with that when you're freaking trying to hide your page name. And I'm not necessarily saying, oh, and I get it. I get the mindset too, especially when you crack something. I get the affiliate mindset, but I'll tell you what, the affiliate mindset will definitely make you rich. It will not make you wealthy. And I don't know where that line is for everyone here, but you can get certainly rich off being an affiliate. And I think it's fucking amazing. Obviously, I love the space, but in order to get wealthy, you have to graduate from that mindset, and honestly maybe get rich first and then graduate to the wealthy mindset. I'm not going to say I didn't have scarcity mindset of what space are you in or what am I doing, all this stuff. And it's, but I have that network of a few of the big players where we share everything with each other. And again, that comes back to my comment, validates my comment of network. And it's just we're able to win together so much faster than everybody else trying to figure it out on their own.
It's a real gold, right? That's why you're
Yes.
not worried about someone stealing your ads. They're not getting paid as much as you. Good luck.
Well, here's the reality. This is what I want everyone to think about for a second. Okay. There's Facebook transparency tool, YouTube transparency tool. I can see all of your fucking ads. You can see all of mine. I can fill out a form. I can call in. I know all of your fucking buyers. So I know all your ads and all your buyers. What are you hiding? And what's the difference of my business versus yours? It has to be different than the ads because I can steal and see all yours. It has to be different than the relationship you have with your advertiser because I can tell who you're selling to. So either I have to have a better relationship on the depth of the advertiser, which is where I spend a lot of my time. I have to have a team that can move fast and iterate faster than anybody else. That's great. That's a good place to be. I have to be able to monetize the traffic differently or better than everybody else. That's fine. Everybody else will be chasing and they'll eventually copy and duplicate, but that's okay. I'll keep leading that. I have to do better use with data to inform my audience sets that I'm actually running messaging to. And I have to do things that others might not think make sense, like run short-term medical copy. Like instead of running $0, get a free check in the mail and a freaking, a foot massage tonight, running something that says, do you make over 30, over $40,000 a year? And looking to switch. I'm being silly, whatever. Looking to switch insurances. What I'm trying to say is like approach it from something different where nobody would even think that. Why is he doing that? Well, a short-term medical policy has about 4 to 5 times the CPA tolerance as an ACA policy. So that's why you're doing that. So it's and again, that comes from the understanding of the industry. So doing very little things that seemingly on the outside don't make sense, but they make so much sense to someone who actually understands the why you're doing that stuff.
Do you ever look at, from a strategy standpoint, do you ever look at putting like a front end low ticket product on to sell, liquidate your ad spend, then back end monetization, or you capture just form fill outbound with your relationships you have with directs or call centers processing policies or whatever the vertical, and then look at really like the back end even off of that data where your real margin is?
I'll admit, we never did a really good job of monetizing data. So we would drive inbound callers. I was always afraid, and since I think that's not true, but I was always afraid of TCPA. But the person called in, so they kind of opted in, but they didn't check a box. So
Yeah.
did they opt in? Can I text them? Can I call them? And again, we were always cranking and doing well. That I never took the gamble or the chance. So I really did not cross monetize my traffic very well. This time around, will I work on monetizing my traffic better? Heck yes. But I'll always tell you when I'm doing something and I'm eating my own dog food, if you will. So do I think that's smart and good? And am I myself even exploring and working on doing that today? Absolutely. And that's part of the, competing with people running fraudulent shit. I can't drive a lead as cheap as them. But if I can, again, afford to pay more, whether it's through the core product or cross monetization or downsell or upsell on these things, like, yeah, I think that's an excellent place to look. And I'm certainly spending a good amount of my time working on that today because I didn't have to deal as much with fraud 2 years ago. I think it's gotten wild.
Would you look at becoming more vertically integrated yourself with having your own call center or even writing policies? Or would you believe that it's more effective for you to focus on what your genius, what you do best, and then build good partnerships for the vertical integration?
Gosh, it's a great question. Well, I'm currently working on a front end. So I'm currently working on the call center piece. I'm chalking it up to either it's going to be successful, or I'm going to learn more about the next piece side of the puzzle. And I have this internal debate of what you just said. Should I be focused on what I'm solely focused on what I'm good at and masterful at and growing that, or should I be diversifying? And again, I'm looking at it as another hedge to some of the, kind of, fake. I'll be a little softer, so I don't hurt anyone's feelings. Kind of the fake angles out there. And do I think margin ingestion on the next stage? Do I think that that helps again be able to pay more than anybody else. Yeah, I do. I do currently. That sentiment has not been that way for me for years, and that might change in 3 months. So I don't know. But as of today, I am working on a call center element in addition to my media, internal media. But that hasn't always I haven't always been marching to that drum. That's new, and I'll give it a shot. And if it works out, great. If not, I am paying for tuition to learn more about how to run a call center so that I can more intelligently drive calls to them.
What's your superpower, man? Like, what is your zone of genius?
Yeah, networking. Like I said, networking, just building and um, maintaining relationships. And I think that comes from a how can I help more than how can I grab, right? Like how can I take it? I think I do a really good job of leading with how can I help? And I've just found the more I've given and helped, and not everyone, right? Maybe 8 out of 10 take advantage, but the two that don't, I've made on like this for the two that um paid it forward in dividends, right? Like I only need to be right. Like if you're playing roulette, you only needed to hit black or hit red, 6 out of 10 times for you to make money, right? And the 4 fails, I have six wins. That's about my track record. So same thing. It's just adding value, adding value to others, asking what problems they have, trying to solve them, um, over delivering for them. All those come into, I think, just like having a good network or good relationships. That's it. Whether that's software vendors being able to give me special pricing, advertisers being able to prioritize me, team members or employees that come on for less than maybe they were making before, or whatever that is. It's caring about people and building and nurturing my network, and I think part of that, I should say, if someone's listening and they are a great networker, for me it became also like selective networking. And I wouldn't say that for most people. I'd say 9 out of 10 people listening should focus on growing your network and nurturing your network in general. Because if you hear selective networking, like perfect, I'm just going to network with one person. No. Like someone who's a hyper networker, or it's eventually saying, okay, what relationships are worth continuing to water and making that evaluation. And that I've matured over the last few years on that one more so. But yeah, it's having and maintaining a good network of people that want to help me.
I was going to ask you, if you were to start over today, what would you do differently? And you said more or less you are somewhat
Yes.
starting over again with obviously your knowledge and your network.
Yep.
What could you answer for everyone listening? If you could think of the Anthony from 2 years ago when you had your exit versus you today, what are you doing differently that had you had to restart 2 years ago, you may not have done?
Give equity to my team. Easy answer. Give equity to my team. Make everybody on your team an owner, even if it's a 0.25% that vests over 4 years. Everyone on the team's an owner.
Why?
Everyone owns teams. Why? Because they treat it like an owner, same way you do. Same way you treat your business like an owner. I had my you maybe have heard me said this on interviews. It really stuck and sticks with me, and I'm now living what I'm preaching here. I remember I had my exit and I said the number and all this. And I had my friends were like, fuck, dude, that's awesome. Fuck yeah. I had my richest, wealthiest friends say you're an idiot. And I said, why? When they knew the percentage of the business I owned, excuse me, when it sold. And I said, why? They said, well, had you given ownership to your team, you probably would have sold for double or triple. And I was like, oh, what a wise statement. And I remember I heard Mark Cuban years ago give this exact advice, and I didn't have the guts or the balls to implement it. And and I'm not saying give away 90% of your business and you're left with 10, but
I lost your audio cut out. You were saying you heard Mark Cuban say,
oh, Mark Cuban, I heard him speak long time ago. I didn't have the guts or balls to actually implement his advice. And I can, again, it's been a couple weeks, but I can see it already. People that I'm getting Slack responses on Sunday nights. I'm telling them like, dude, I remember like retraining. I remember having to go figure out work-life balance. I'm like, hey, dude, like, don't like take Slack off your phone or like mute it after hours. Like, no. Like everyone is busting their ass right now. And it's again, I'm not saying give away 90% of the business, but that's how it's structured. It's structured over a four-year vesting period. You could even structure it based on if they hit goals that it vests, and it can be as little as 0.5% of the business, 0.25% of the business. So 0.05% that vests every year, or what, for 4 years or whatever that is. And but you make at least your key employees, you make them a owner. And that's the direct advice that I would give, and I'm implementing as well on this go around.
What are you most excited about today, starting again?
You know what? I'm really enjoying the uncomfortability, right? Like it was comfortable being profitable and reinvesting in things, and having a team of, I don't even know how many they had, 13, 14 full-time, and maybe another 5 to 10 part-time, I don't even know, something like that, 20-ish, 15 to 20 people. Where like you'd have someone that could get all these things done, and you can roll off, like, dude, we're like on the ground floor. I'm like writing copy, which is so freaking fun. I'm helping manage the clients, which I have, like all these things that like, and honestly, I'm laying out cash, paying for salaries without having revenue or profit coming in, and I'm losing sleep, and I have plenty of money to afford that. And I'm not saying that to be a prick. I'm saying that to be like, how interesting of a mindset is that? Like, I'm like losing sleep over putting, and it's just like, just to take a step back and be like, this is really cool, because in a week, a month, a year, I'm gonna look back on this and I'm gonna say, man, I missed that, or I'm envious of that. It's like when I talk to, like, I'm mentoring someone in the affiliate space, and they tell me where they're at, and I'm like, I know you think you envy me, but I weirdly envy you, like the spot you're in, because there's so many learnings, and it's so fun, and it's you're so agile, and there's just like so many benefits to being small or new, or and it's just really fun to, I get to be blessed enough to be acquired by a public company that treated me tremendously. And I get to see a large company move and go back to 2 to 4 or 1 employees, or one just yourself. Like, there's a lot of advantages to both, but there's a lot of advantages being there, and it's fun to be back, or to be in those in this space, and just learning and growing as I am, and just kind of keeping a pulse on myself on, like, oh my God, that's interesting that you're not sleeping at night because you're worried about paying, this guy's salary or this thing. And it's so it's been a really fun growth time for me. So I'm really enjoying it. I'm enjoying the agility, to answer your question.
Did you know you were going to get back in right after you sold, or?
100%, dude. I was blessed enough to, just like anything, right? Like, I just said I applied. I Through such a network of founders and people that had exited businesses, and I saw people that did it really well and people that did it really poorly. And I really realized that the people that do it really poorly are still believing in this false fairy tale we were fed, which is you exit a business, then you sit on a beach, and like, some of these guys are worth hundreds of millions of dollars, and they're so miserable and sad. It's not even funny, and it's because they lost purpose. And no judgment. There's no purpose in their life. There's nothing to get up for. There's nothing to be woken up in the middle of the night for. And and at least for myself, I've realized that's what life is all about. It's not about making more money, bigger house, faster car, cooler watch. It's about having purpose, and it's about enjoying what you work on and do. And I really enjoy what I work on and do. And I said to my best friend, I said, dude, I would actually pay a fee every year to be doing what I'm doing right now. Like, I would pay a fee. Forget the ability to make money. Like, I would pay to work to do what I'm working on right now. And I think that's when you're working on the right stuff. So it's yeah, I always knew I would be, and I always know, no matter how much money I make, I will always be working. And it's now I think you get to graduate to do things you like doing more, or you get to do bigger, better things, or less things, or more philanthropic things, or more whatever it is. But I think not I think, I know you need to have purpose in your life. Otherwise you're lost. You're lost. You're walking around lost in life. And I saw too many founders, ex-founders that had exited a business and have more money than everyone could ever wish for, lose the richest thing of them all, which is purpose. And that's not going to be me. And that was never going to be.
How would you define your purpose?
My purpose is, it sounds so foo-foo, but it's just to make people happy. And for me, I love making people happy, whether that's smiling a lot, whether that's coming on a podcast and helping people grow, whether that's employing people so they can feed their family, whether that's driving calls into I just like I fall in love with what we do. Like I don't think people really understand what we do. Like sorry, like not like external people, like people doing what we do don't understand what they're doing. Like you get to give Facebook your money and employ people at Facebook because of that money you give them. You get to drive leads and calls to call center reps that get employed because of what you do. You get to run ads for products that have customers that benefit from those products. That's what you do. You have such an enormous impact that we don't realize it because we're doing it on these little 18-inch screens in our in our underwear. Like we could never have the impact we have without this beautiful thing called the internet, because we'd be out door knocking or meeting people or doing things or something. Like you don't know the impact you're having. And for me, like that's pretty fucking purposeful if you ask me.
It's
So
cool,
that's my
man.
purpose. Yeah.
So you're a DJ. You're still DJing actively right now?
Not anymore. It was a fun thing for that purpose, right? It was a fun project to run at while I was kind of in between jobs, if you will, with my non-compete.
What,
So
what do you do outside of DJing? What do you do for fun? Like, how'd you spend all that time?
investing. So I looked at it I looked at investing as my new business. So mostly reading and learning. I think people mistake that for I'm in 37 different VC checks and this and that, right? Like it's like no, I looked at my investment portfolio, and anyone who's made, I don't know what the number is, over 25 grand, 50 grand in the bank, whatever number you want to come up with, like that's really your second business. You don't even know it, in my opinion, because you've already made that money and that money could make more money for you passively, right? And it's that was highly attractive for me to learn how to deploy capital and manage expenses. So I spent a lot of time in investment groups and really educating myself on how to be a full-time investor. I was blessed enough to have been hired by the company that acquired me. So I kind of cheated through this whole post-acquisition thing, meaning like I got to still get my fix of lead gen while still benefiting from selling a company. And I'm super blessed that they gave me that opportunity to do that. And so I was still working. I was DJing for fun. That was a fun project for me. And then just focused on my family, my friends, my beautiful bride to be, and just my health and but that wasn't a focus because I sold the business. That was a focus before selling the business, and that's a focus today. Even working, shit, last week I probably worked 60 hours. I don't remember the last 60-hour work week I had. It's been at least 2 years. And but I still prioritize my health. I still prioritize my family. I still prioritize my bride to be. And that's not something that I wait for. I learned and remembered years ago this whole fictitious, when I get this, then I'll do that, is the biggest bullshit you could ever tell yourself. Fill in that sentence. When this happens, I'll do this or I'll get that. That's bullshit. Because when blank happens, something else will come up. Okay, well then when this, then that. Like it's just such bullshit we feed ourselves. Like today's the day. Today's the day to sleep 8 hours. Today's the day to work out. Today's the day to spend a little extra time and make breakfast for your significant other. Today's the day to call your mom. Today's the day to read a little bit more. Whatever that is, like I'll do that when is such horseshit. And the real irony of life, the real irony I found is when you start doing the things that actually matter, these other material worldly things we've been chasing magically fall into place. You magically make more money. You magically scale your company. You magically, like, these things happen when you're focused on the right things. And it's such an irony to life. It's so beautiful and awesome. So simple. So simple.
What's something you'd like to say to affiliates starting out and then affiliates that have been in the space for years?
Affiliate starting out is, oh man, I would say I like the idea of not getting too shiny object syndrome, meaning if you pick a space or you do a thing, get really good at it. So if you want to run Facebook ACA, I would just run Facebook ACA. And when it's not working, I would keep working on it. When that's not working, I would keep working on it. When it's not working again, I would keep working on it. I think too often we start as a Facebook ACA guy and we end up trying this vertical and this vertical, and then we try this traffic source and this traffic source, and we give up just when it's that close, right? It's like when you're lifting weights, what's the most powerful rep? You're doing a set of 10, it's the 11th rep, right? That's where you get all the gains, that last one. And I think too often we get up to the 8th rep and we quit. And it's like, oh my gosh, you're just right there. So for someone starting out, I would go narrow and deep is what I would say. Narrow and deep. Become a master at a platform and a space and take a year to figure it out versus hopping around all over the place. That's what I would say to a new. To somebody who's established in the space, oh man, it's so freaking in line with what we were just talking about. Like, realize the power you have. And I don't mean that in the ego way. I mean that in the impact you have. Like, that needs to motivate you to grow and do more. It needs to motivate you to scale. It needs you to motivate to hire more people. It needs to motivate you to drive more customers. It needs to motivate you to employ more people in the call centers, to the customer, to the lead you're driving. Like, that should be infectious. Knowing the scale that and impact you make on the world should be frighteningly infectious. You should be freaking on fire with understanding that potential you have, and realizing that I believe that, and this goes for myself too, I believe that the uh, next, excuse me, if you study some of the best business owners, they were marketers. If you study some of the best businesses, the founders started as marketers. Why? Because that's the engine to any good business. You have the best product in the world. If you can't market and sell it, nobody fucking buys that shit. You have the worst
Yeah.
product in the world. If you can market and sell, that thing flies off the case, ends up being a really freaking valuable company, even though it's freaking nothing. These fucking things, these Stanley Cups. This is a perfect example. It's a piece of tin, and I read somewhere they sold like 300. They did $350 million more last year in sales or something crazy because of marketing. It's a fucking piece of tin, dude. It's shit. It's the same thing as a coffee cup. But it's so realizing that I believe that you have the potential and power to be the next big business owner outside of just affiliate marketing. Not that you're saying that this isn't a great space, and obviously I'm getting back in the space as well too. But there's more made for you, whether it's within this affiliate business, whether it's the next business. Just know the value you bring in the uh, capitalistic society. Marketing and sales is the number one driver, and just realizing how beautiful that skill set is to have. That's what I'd ask or say to the people that are more seasoned.
Love it, man. Do you have a quote or idea you live by that you want to share?
Fail fast, fail fast. So fail fast and often, meaning don't spend 3 months to validate an idea. Just keep falling your face, fail fast. And we do it with ads all the time, right? You launch 10 different ads, you get one that works. Great, launch another 10 the next day. Great, launch another 10 the next day. Just keep moving, keep failing fast. And last thing, it's not necessarily uh, a quote, but it's what I believe happiness equals. I believe happiness equals growth and giving. So when you're growing and giving, you're happy. And I think if you really analyze and look at yourself for sustainable happiness, that's true. This is my favorite part of my day was talking to you because I'm giving today, right? And then I love growing, whatever that is, and that's when I feel the happiest. That's true for me. I'm not saying that's everyone. It's not other things. That for me, growth and giving equals happy. You grow and you give is what leads to long-term sustainable happiness. And if you don't believe it today, eventually you'll believe it one day because realize all the material things you could ever get. Jim Carrey has such a beautiful quote. I wish everybody could could experience the fame and wealth they think they want, only to realize that that's not what it's all about. And I think that quote is just so true. And it's at least been true for me. I enjoy growing and giving more than I do making an extra dollar at this point in my life, and I did before I made all this money too. So I hope everyone listening realizes that for themselves too. I think you have a lot more higher quality of life.
Appreciate the honesty, man. It comes from a good place. You could feel it when you say it. So thank you for your time, man, and your experience, your wisdom. Like, I've looked up to you. I know we just actually met for the first time in person a few weeks ago, but I followed you since I heard your name dropping when I first came into the space over 2 years ago. So thank you for what you've done, and I think you're a great example for people in this industry. And like you've had an impact on me just from this conversation. Like, I've as you were speaking, I was thinking of how can I do better and do different. So thank you.
Meant a ton, dude. Thank you. Thanks for giving me the opportunity. Appreciate it, Johnny.
How can
Good.
people find you, connect you, follow you?
Yeah, just either on Instagram or my website, just my first and last name too. And if you have any questions, feel free to DM me, fill out a form, whatever you want. I'm happy to answer any questions. I pride myself. I respond to every single person's question. It might take me a week or so, but anyone who's got any question, I probably respond to one a day. So anything I can be helpful for, it would be, I mean, like I just said, I'll practice what I preach. I get more value out of helping. So it would be fun for me. So feel free to reach out.
Thank you again, brother.
All right, Johnny, I'll see you.